Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, NXT is done, but I'm Dan Marotti.
I'm just incredible.
He sure is. Our brand new Wrestling Insiders Extreme is now. Wrestling fans, years have become months that have become weeks, and now we're talking days and even hours as Boston Wrestling MWF celebrates its 20th anniversary, going back to the 90s. Saturday night, November the 13th at Memorial Hall in Melrose, Massachusetts. The superstars and legends of yesterday, today, and tomorrow will take part in a live wrestling event, autograph photo, fan fest, VIP exclusive Q&A, plus the kickoff to our annual Paul Bear Holiday Headlocks Toy Drive. After Jimmy Kimmel embarrassed Melrose for, well, being Melrose, we're also going to have a superstar costume contest where best dressed wins an awesome autographed prize. On November the 13th, you'll see and meet two-time WWE World Champion and Hall of Famer Bob Backlund, WWE Hall of Famer Bushwhacker Luke, WWE Hall of Famer Alundra Blaze, a.k.a. Medusa, from WCW, WWE Intercontinental and Tag Team Champion Marty Jannetty, the Doctor of Style Slick, Doink the Clown, Duke the Dumpster Drosy, Portuguese Man of War Aldo Montoya, plus two-time Impact Wrestling World Champion Die Hard Eddie Edwards, JTG of Crime Time, John Cena Sr., Oscar of Men on a Mission, AEW's Jora Joe, and more. VIP packages and tickets are on sale now at BostonWrestling.com. We'll see you live November the 13th.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, welcome to another installment of Wrestling Insiders Extreme. Dan Marotti, along with our partner in crime, Just Incredible, as we continue our look at the world that was ECW, the superstars, the places, the people, the events, the ambiance, so much that went into those magical years that so many millions of fans still miss, even now 20 years after the Paul Heyman version of ECW went bye-bye. It's amazing. It's 20 years.
It really is something, and I say this, and I get asked quite a bit, and you know, it's something to say for what we did and what it meant to so many people. You know, you don't hear or really see many people talking about WCW other than maybe, you know, talk about the Monday Night Wars once in a while as a point. But you never hear a chant of ECW. Still, I did a show a couple of weeks ago, and they were still chanting ECW. So we did something right. I think it was a piece of wrestling history that will live on forever, and that's pretty darn cool.
It's like Ric Flair's woos. If you go to even WWE events, if they do a table or a hardcore spot, you'll still hear ECW chants.
And it's aged finer than wine, let me tell you, because I certainly don't remember the matches being as good as we get credit for, but hey, respect.
Hey, there you go. It's like a fine wine. You only get better with age. But it's too bad you don't get the residuals that go along with it on the WWE Network. But that's a different story for a different time. We talked about the great series of matches you had with Jerry Lynn when you were a newcomer to ECW. A couple of other guys we did not mention, one of whom is an MWF original. He competed on our first few events at Wonderland Greyhound Park. He was kind of a youngin' at that point, kind of breaking in, the cousin of Taz, Chris Chetti.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any memories of working with Chris Chetti?
Oh, a lot of them. I loved working with Chris Chetti. He was a great kid, great young man, trained well at the ECW dojo, and Taz was one of the guys training over there. And that's one thing I love about the way, and we talked earlier about training and getting into the business. A lot of kids get everything handed to them. In those days, speaking about Chris Chetti and guys that came from the ECW school, another one, Danny Doring had come from that school. Roadkill as well, the big bearded guy, So, you know, he was just a phenomenal guy, a good-looking kid, and had a great, unique style because he was a great amateur wrestler, which a lot of people don't know.
I didn't know that. No.
And he could do some acrobatics, and I loved working with him. Actually, we had a couple of matches when I was ECW champion. I defended the title against him.
Did you?
And at a couple of house shows that a lot of people probably didn't see, but nonetheless.
Wait. In this show, we may get to it. Who knows?
Yeah, we never know.
Why do you think he didn't really go anywhere?
I don't
Because
know.
I thought he had it. You know?
Yeah, I
he
don't
wasn't
know.
a great promo.
No.
But in the ring, I mean, he
In the
just
ring, he was
continued to
great.
get better
Yeah.
and better and better and better, year in and year out. I mean, he did some great stuff with Nova.
Yep.
Towards the end of the ECW era, and just never wound up in WWE during that ECW takeover invasion. And just never went anywhere. He wound up working with us.
I think...
And I really liked him.
Yeah, he had a lot of potential. I think he had the injury bug a little bit.
Did he?
In the later years of ECW, but he was still a young man. And when the WWE didn't pick him up after 2001-ish, I think because he was a family man, he had a pretty large family of young kids. I think he kind of saw the writing on the wall. And then definitely in 2005, I think he was there for one of the one-night stands, but didn't get re-signed.
I think he was actually sitting in the front row.
Was he? Something,
Yeah.
There were talks of probably bringing him in, but when that didn't happen, I just think,
That was
he
it.
kind of, and God bless him. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
If you're happy and you're able to take care of your family, what more can you really ask for, right?
So I think that
Wrestling
was a
or no
lot
wrestling.
to do with it, because really, if you think about it, a lot of us, I always put it this way. In 2000, and this changed my career, and we'll talk about this hopefully not too long, because I don't want to, but in 2001, there were 3 wrestling companies. Roughly, all the way in all 3 companies employed probably around 300 professionals full-time, men and women. All of a sudden, fast forward 2001, WCW and ECW are under the umbrella of the WWE.
Within weeks.
Within weeks. So I would say a good 200 of those full-time jobs disappeared, including pushes and the way promotions had set you up for storylines, etc. I was lucky enough to have jumped right over to WWE and teamed with X-Pac. But for a lot of men and women, they didn't get that opportunity. And it took almost a decade of displacement. A lot of people left the business. A lot of people hung around and worked on the fame they got in the past. But a lot of people, we talk about trajectories and not getting over. Just incredible if he'd have stayed in ECW 2001 and maybe would have continued on that trajectory, and if there was another company in 2004, 2005, maybe that guy would have been a different player in the game. I think that had a lot to do with it, because all over the place now, names and strategies and gimmicks were all over the place. So I think that moment in time hurt a lot of people's careers, hurt mine definitely.
Absolutely.
And hurt a lot of other people's as far as, just simple storylines and getting people over. I mean, I had if you really think about it, the long-term 5-year plan, as Heyman calls it, was to, at the end of the day, execute me and Van Dam as a super match. And I'd never touched Van Dam in ECW, ever. We never once touched in the ring.
You never got to that mega pay-per-view match.
And that was supposed to be him and I, and me dropping the belt to Van Dam. And so, there was a lot of those things going to happen in the future that never got to play out. And you could say that probably happened in WCW as well. So
sure.
A lot of people's careers and a lot of wrestlers' futures were skewed by what happened in those years. And I don't think they ever fully recovered. And then that's Vince too, was all over the place with bringing in the invasion angle, and then relaunching ECW, then kind of having that be all over the place, never focusing on really his own brand of stars, really going all over the place, trying to bring guys in, and those shows, those like where they found Mike the Miz on those reality shows, Tough Enough and all that stuff. Nobody really organic that was 6'5", like we talked about, 300 pounds and looks the part, is former pro athlete, somebody that can go. It was all these ragtag groups that they tried to push, and that's why we never get that legitimate star that this business has needed for a long time, and why the old guys, the greats of the business, like the Edges and the Christians and the Undertakers, have always needed to come back.
It's desperation.
Yeah.
Even Goldberg. I mean,
Goldberg, So
for all of his, he's obviously at 54, he's slowed down a bit.
Yeah.
But when he comes out, he still looks like a badass man that
he
could
still
kick
looks
the shit
the
out
part.
of
He still looks the part. He can get the job done. But at the end of the day, he's good for that. He's good. But I think fans are so smart now. We know very well that that's what he's going to do, and WWE has got to do better. And it's not because of me. I don't mind to see him. Like I said, it's cool. He still has that look. But if the fans know, because nowadays they know everything, it's not enough anymore to really do that. And I think they're doing the fans a disservice because more now than ever, in the 2000s, early 2000s, even the late 90s, you knew the internet marks were there, but you didn't. Not everybody knew everything. There was still a large number of people that did not read the internet. Now, I would argue that most people that go to those shows at some point will mess around and look at some little website because they dig it,
If you
right?
use
They're fans.
Facebook or if you use Twitter, you're going to come across it by
Something,
accident.
by accident, right.
Right.
So I think WWE underplays that as being impactful. And they've got to find a way to kind of, look, AEW was brilliant at, pretty much telling the world that CM Punk's going to debut at the Chicago United Center, but not actually.
Not saying a peep.
But everybody knew.
They let the fans do it.
And
They
the
let
fans are going to be the ones that are going to dictate this next movement. And it's the first time in a very long time where a company other than WWE has actually had real momentum.
And isn't it sad that with every resource that TNA had, they flushed it down the toilet?
Yeah.
They should have been the AEW momentum growth, as we mentioned. I mean, look at everybody that they signed and brought in. Jeff Hardy was selling as much merchandise as John Cena when he left.
Yeah.
Luckily for WWE, where about a month after he left, he ran into that scandal where he was arrested and they found all the drugs and the steroids at his house. But that wouldn't have been a good look for WWE.
Yeah.
But it's seriously, at that time, that was one of the hottest wrestlers on the planet showing up with Hogan, with
Sting,
Flair,
Booker T, Kurt Angle,
I
everybody.
mean,
Bubba Ray Dudley was
how do you
hot.
flush that down the toilet?
I don't know.
On top of the great independent talent they were grooming.
Yeah.
Joe and AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels.
The rating,
Chris
they actually
Sabin.
had good ratings. The
They
ratings
were
were
in
like
1.5 million people
They were doing it
quite a
too.
while.
They were doing twos.
Did they go
for
up to
Spike?
that high?
Yeah.
And I know people say, ratings are subjective and it's different in this day and age. And sure, you know what, you're not necessarily wrong, but they had all the potential in the world to do what AEW is doing and beyond.
Yeah,
To have,
I just-
even if you didn't have them work, to have ambassadors like Hogan and Flair under contract to you, to let it turn into what it turned into. It's just sad.
I just think it comes down to wrestling people always doing what they do best, and that's everybody's on deck to take the company's money. You know, they all sucked up to Dixie. Dixie's a wonderful lady. I worked for her several times. You know, they got all those guys got paid, the Jeff Jarrett's, the Hulk Hogan's, and all those guys down the line. The name, you can name them. Everybody got their big money, and everybody else, but then you take all her money, and then the holes start to pop up. And then, the boys are in charge for a lot of that, what happened in TNA, unfortunately. And
It's sad because, like I said, they just
and
coulda,
AEW
shoulda,
is not
woulda.
doing that, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
They're going. The people think that they are because people will say, Tony Khan has the open checkbook and whatever. But to be honest with you, the money he's investing in the kind of talent he's investing in are all future players or players that can provide today. And I think Hogan and Jeff Jarrett at that time.
Oh, they were done.
They were done. I mean, Hulk is Hulk ever really done? But nonetheless,
His name value will never be done.
right. But as a performer,
look at who they've invested in. Not to turn this into an AEW episode, but Andrade Almas should be one of the top heels on Raw.
should, yeah.
And they flushed him down the toilet.
Yeah.
They were just starting to do something of interest with Aleister Black after having him sitting in that closet for a year and a half waiting for someone to knock for a fight. And I mean, look, he was moreover in a week doing that angle with Cody Rhodes in AEW than he was in 2 or 3 years on the main roster in WWE. I hate to point to this guy, Tommaso Ciampa, who's been here and he worked with many of our live events over the years. We were lucky enough to have John Bradshaw Layfield with us when he was Intercontinental Champion, and he, Tommaso, and Slick Wagner Brown beat the ever-living hell out of John Cena Sr. out on the loading dock out back, which was kind of a fun moment to have just the credibility of an Intercontinental Champion in our group, But I lost my train of thought on that. Oh, Tommaso, when they brought up Ricochet, Black, Tommaso, and Gargano at the same time, just because they wanted to do something fresh, you hate to say, you never want to see anyone get injured in our business.
Right.
But if he was going to have to break his neck at any time and need neck surgery, that was the time. Because if they kept Gargano and Ciampa on that roster in 2019, they'd be like Ricochet, even worse. Because at least Ricochet, to me, he could be the Rey Mysterio of the next generation.
Right.
Tommaso and Gargano, to me, are just two tremendous workers.
Yeah.
But small guys that I think would have got eaten up, jobbed out. If they still had a job, they'd likely still be in catering or on that show Main Event on the network.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But Malachi Black in AEW was over like $1 million. He was a great investment. Miro, they did a lot of nonsense with him.
I think they did in the beginning, but I think they've repositioned him now. It seems like they've course corrected quite a bit, and like I said, man, I think they finally got it. I think for the first half of AEW's run with Dynamite was a lot of weird
trying to figure it out.
Figuring it out. I think they've kind of hit a stride, and I think the wrestling gods have kind of given it to them, like momentum, just all of these releases are kind of writing the. It's almost like too good to be true.
Look, you got Punk. I mean, obviously that is the elite, no pun intended, signee. You got Bryan, who's pretty close. You have the rumor mill that Adam Cole may join. I don't know what's going to happen by the time this episode airs, but Adam Cole may join his girlfriend in AEW.
Sure.
Who I think he would fit far better in AEW than a Major League WWE brand.
Right.
You have, talk about quote-unquote luck, they have a Full Gear pay-per-view the second Saturday in November. Bray Wyatt's contract comes due right around Halloween. Imagine coming up with a concept for him. I mean, look at a guy like Bray Wyatt. He pinned Goldberg to end WrestleMania 36, and there's not even a job.
See, that I don't understand. That really makes me crazy, because that's one of those names you don't just let go. I mean, maybe restructure, but that seemed
Give
very
him a fresh
odd.
coat of paint.
Something that seemed very odd to me. Yeah,
maybe
again,
there was more than we know, but. I never heard anything bad about the guy.
Me neither. Yeah, just
I think
really weird.
Maybe with him, he just almost like Boogeyman, where the way they were brought into the business, they don't totally get it because they never came in the way you did.
But
it's a good example.
But coming from the father and the whole wrestling family, that's kind of hard to believe. I don't know.
No, I'm talking about Strowman.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Bray Wyatt.
No,
I was going to say
Bray Wyatt's excellent, but I mean, you hear that Strowman's trying to get 25 grand for an indie.
He
needs to learn the business.
Yeah, no,
Same
somebody.
thing like
I thought you were
Boogeyman.
talking about Bray Wyatt.
Oh no, he was in the business when he came out of the womb.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, Strowman has 25,000 for an indie.
Are you kidding me? I wouldn't even give him 5.
I wouldn't give him. I mean, you're not going to make it back.
No,
not
it's
even close.
Insanity.
Yeah.
I mean, you're as well, probably even much more than I. I'm kind of familiar with how the payoff structure worked through what I did with Ed Cohen. But I mean, was Strowman getting 25 grand for a house show?
Not even for the Garden.
Come on.
Not even for the Garden.
That might be a nice if he was in a mid-card
pay-per-view.
Pay-per-view, yeah. But for an indie?
Yeah.
Give me a break.
Yeah.
I think he gave us the cue, didn't he, when we were?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. This is when you know we're having great conversation, when we
great
lose track
conversation, great
of what
content.
we're doing.
That's all.
All right, wrestling fans, we're going to take a brief timeout. When we come back, we're going to have more Wrestling Insiders Extreme. We're actually going to try and talk a little ECW. Stand by. Wrestling fans, years have become months that have become weeks, and now we're talking days and even hours as Boston Wrestling MWF celebrates its 20th anniversary, going back to the 90s. Saturday night, November the 13th at Memorial Hall in Melrose, Massachusetts. The superstars and legends of yesterday, today, and tomorrow will take part in a live wrestling event, autograph photo, fan fest, VIP exclusive Q&A, plus the kickoff to our annual Paul Bear Holiday Headlocks Toy Drive. After Jimmy Kimmel embarrassed Melrose for, being Melrose, we're also going to have a superstar costume contest where best dressed wins an awesome autographed prize. On November the 13th, you'll see and meet two-time WWE World Champion and Hall of Famer Bob Backlund, WWE Hall of Famer Bushwhacker Luke, WWE Hall of Famer Alundra Blaze, a.k.a. Medusa, from WCW. WWE Intercontinental and Tag Team Champion Marty Jannetty, the Doctor of Style Slick, Doink the Clown, Duke the Dumpster Drosy, Portuguese Man of War Aldo Montoya, plus two-time Impact Wrestling World Champion Die Hard Eddie Edwards, JTG of Crime Time, John Cena Sr., Oscar of Men on a Mission, AEW's Jora Joe, and more. VIP packages and tickets are on sale now at BostonWrestling.com. We'll see you live November the 13th.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marotti.
And I'm Mr. USA WWE Hall of Famer Tony Atlas.
The road to WrestleMania has begun. Wrestling fans are looking to add to their man caves. You got to see what we have in the eBay store.
Check it out.
On October 28, 2020, Wrestling's Scariest Night was back with WWE NXT Halloween Havoc. This limited edition collector's autograph poster is number 12 of only 100 produced and is signed by all 9 superstars featured on the poster, including Johnny Gargano, Damian Priest, Candice LeRae, Io Shirai, Dexter Lumis, Cameron Grimes, Rhea Ripley, Raquel Gonzalez, and your Halloween Havoc host, Shotzi Blackheart. Comes with WWE authentication hologram on the back. You'll also receive an on-air thank you from WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas and a bonus mystery autograph photo. Help keep wrestling legends working. Get this awesome collectible now. Wrestling fans, especially here in the Boston area, we want to thank our great friends at Red Rose for their support for all of our charitable endeavors and programming efforts. Red Rose is 2 years young and extremely thankful for all the support they've had from our neighbors here in Melrose and beyond for an amazing first 2 years. Red Rose thanks Melrose and all of the first responders who have fought the good fight and have never given up hope during these unprecedented times. We did it together. Follow Red Rose on Facebook for their anniversary special, facebook.com/Red Rose Melrose. You'll be glad you did. Open until 2 a.m. Red Rose will give you fresh, piping hot, mouth-watering food that'll put an ear-to-ear smile on even the toughest critic's face. Check out their full menu online at redrosema.com or give them a call, 781-620-1889.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, welcome back to Wrestling Inside is Extreme. You know what? If you're not part of the Patreon family, you don't know what you miss sometimes on the commercial break. Some of the great conversations we have. You know, we've got about 6 or 7 dozen of the great Patreon fans here tonight that came out to meet Justin, and we're having a great time. But, patreon.com/Boston Wrestling, you get early, full-screen, ad-free access to these shows. You get access to our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library that's been seen by millions online, millions more on the Howard Stern Show. You get Patreon exclusive videos, and more than anything, I keep pushing it. I don't want to get you mad, Marty, but you're helping keep wrestling legends working. Again, patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. If you can't remember it, the link is in the description box below. All of you that come to watch these shows, we consider you great fans, great friends, but when you join the Patreon, we think you're part of the family. You get
I was just going to say, if you're not part of the Patreon, you're part of the problem. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? I might get a little heat, but I'm going to steal that. And again, folks, if you have forgotten, this Saturday night, 2 blocks down the road, Memorial Hall, Melrose, Massachusetts, it's our 20th anniversary. We're going to have a VIP exclusive Q&A, autographs and pose photos, and the hungry young athletes, the superstars and legends of today and tomorrow that want those spots on WWE Raw, on SmackDown, on AEW. They're going to blow the roof off of Memorial Hall. Tickets are available now. BostonWrestling.com. We do note the week of, we raised the price by $5 because it is difficult to put all the packages for the VIPs together to get it ready for you to hand to you when you arrive at Memorial Hall. So the sooner you get your ticket, it saves you a few bucks. Again, BostonWrestling.com. Now, back to the world of Extreme with former ECW World Heavyweight Champion. When we go back to the 90s, you might have to don that yellow mask. I don't know.
I have
We'll see. We'll see.
I have one laying around somewhere.
There you go. We talked about Chris Chetti, who I thought was a very underrated talent. He worked for us here in MWF in the past. Another guy you worked the house show loops with early on in ECW, the Amish Roadkill. Any memories of Roadkill?
Yeah, he was another one, man. Just a really big guy. And one thing I really admired about those wrestlers that came out of that camp, the Taz run camp, the ECW dojo as it was, they were so respectful, so razor sharp in the ring. I mean, they were just excellent, very, very dedicated, and they just, all they wanted to do was have good matches and would do anything. Listen to the veterans, add in their own little, they're always thinking on how to take what we were doing almost to the next level. Like, they wouldn't want to step on any toes, but they always had really good ideas, and you know, they were just really outstanding guys that I really wish had more of an opportunity to shine, you know, because they were underutilized for sure.
Well, I tell you, on the first event I ever worked, two people that really made a huge impact in my life in wrestling were the Sheik and Tony Atlas in different ways. Believe me, I almost died with the Sheik. But also on that first show that Tony Rumble ran, Tommy Dreamer was doing the Strippendale, what's it called? Not Strippendale, Chippendale act.
Chippendale,
and Taz was the Tasmaniac. He was a little furry animal.
paint,
But I mean, I look back now, I mean, that's the type of locker room that was around on the independent shows back then compared to 2021.
Those were coming out of the old ICW days.
Yeah, the Savoldis. Yeah,
right,
this one that we can.
I tried to get into the Savoldis when I first came out of Calgary.
What happened?
I never heard back.
Never heard back?
Yeah.
Oh, that's all right. I heard
it's okay.
I heard they were also known as the Rip-Off Brothers at certain times.
Well, there you go.
You might have been doing worse than Memphis.
Yeah. Well, but that's the whole thing. The funny thing about wrestling when you don't know is they were on television.
Yes.
And the fact that I got their show in Connecticut, it's like, you know, and that's how it was. It was that power of television that was so seductive for a young man, young woman sitting at home wanting to get into the business, and they see that, they're like, well, it must be legitimate. It's on television.
They must be making huge money. It's on television.
And then, of course, we go ahead and even portray it even further with big gold championships and $15,000 winners of battle royals. You know, I'd take $15, but what the hell? You know, but still, it was like, it was just that illusion of what it was. It was just, you know, great stuff.
Unbelievable fans. Around the time we talked about Joey Styles for the majority of his run, he did the commentary all by himself. At one point, he did have a sidekick doing color, a very risque, ravishing Rick Rude, laying down the verbiage in very creative ways. I thought he was actually kind of good and funny in certain spots. Your memories of what must have been disappointing to ECW, leaving the company to go on to be the bodyguard that couldn't take a bump for DX.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't remember being around Rick that often. No, he was there for a couple of TV tapings I was there for, but I was, to be honest, I was a bit intimidated.
Really?
Yeah, I was such a fan that I didn't really, I loved Rick Rude's work, but I didn't really mess with him. But he certainly had that, that thing that, you know, especially for commentating, because he was a funny guy. You know, and he came from that, I was good friends with Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, and he came from that group of Minnesota guys.
Minnesota group.
Yeah, with like, I was friends with Blackjack Lanza and obviously Sean Waltman, and all those Minnesota guys were, you know, I was really tight with those guys, so I was a bit intimidated by, they were all shooters too. All those guys can go in the ring.
I heard Rude was,
he was a tough guy.
SOB.
Yes, he was. So a bit intimidating. But yeah, he was good with Joey for the little time they had. And another one, not to jump around, but another guy who got his break because I think TNN wanted a two-man booth was Don Callis.
Oh, yeah.
Cyrus.
He did have a run doing it too.
That's right.
He was the
he was part of the network, right? Yeah, because that was a shoot. That was half a shoot. TNN did want somebody to come along with Joey, because Paul and Joey and Paul wanted it to be just Joey, keep it, you know, traditional. But TNN wanted him there, wanted a second person there, so they made it part of the storyline, which I thought was kind of cool, you know, because that did work for a very long time. That whole angle.
I think he's doing some good work right now in AEW. Yeah. I like that character that he's doing.
Very smart guy.
ECW though, I don't think he really did all that much. I think that was just maybe a character they didn't have time to develop with all the frustrations going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, just
trying to keep the company alive.
Yeah.
But we'll get there as we go further down the road. Also during '97, right around the time you came in, you had guys that were WWF affiliated, like Uncle Al Snow, Doug Furness, Philip LaFawn.
That's right.
Were you guys all in that same mix, trying to come up with something new, something good, so you could go back to WWF to make the big money?
I think some guys were more on that trajectory than others. I was at some point, I don't remember when, but at some point I knew I was not going to go back anytime. I had signed, I think, not to jump too far ahead, but in '98 I had signed like a 5-year ECW thing, yeah, for pretty good money too, thank God. And,
How would you? I know people hate to get into facts and figures, and I think that's almost a mistake sometimes. But how would you compare it to WWF money?
I made more in ECW.
If you were to go back in '98 per se, how do you think you would have been comparable to what you were getting in ECW? 50%, 75%?
No, I don't mind even saying. My best year as Aldo, I made $120,000, and I made $150,000 as Justin in '98.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's actually, considering the schedule.
In 2000, I made almost $250,000
wow.
for ECW.
So that was was 2000 your biggest year?
Yeah, 2001 for WWE.
Oh, that's right, because you went back during.
Yeah. But Taz was making that money. There was a few of us. It was not Taz. Taz had gone. Van Dam was making it. Like the creme de la creme of the top guys were.
The 150 grand was the mark you were trying to hit in ECW.
Yeah.
For everybody. Well, you earned it. You deserved it.
Yeah.
And like you said, certainly not a.
Well, we were also though giving away. We had video games, all the rights to all the. There was no.
They didn't do residuals?
Nope.
Really?
So we sold all the rights to that stuff too. So a lot of that money, you got to understand.
The action figures.
The action
too?
figures,
Really?
the video games,
The magazine?
anything, all of that stuff. So it's all one. But you know what? The way there was no accounting department in ECW.
Could you imagine?
So yeah, I would have just listen. I'll take you. Sell my stuff. That's great.
And
Just
pay
give
me
me
a
a
little
nice,
more. Yeah.
nice chunk. And he only bounced one check. That he was good to me. Yeah, there was a lot of guys that did have legitimate horror stories. He was always very good to me.
Jim Mitchell only.
And I got lucky. Maybe I don't necessarily know if it was intentional or not. I knew there was a gimmick that we used to all get when we got our checks. There was an 800 number you'd call from the bank, the Bank of America, and you'd write the check account and the amount. This is, remember, 800 numbers. This is pre everybody online. And it would say, you'd put in your amount of your check, and it would say if it could cover it or not. It wouldn't say what the balance was, but it would say if the check would go through. Like if you worked at a grocery store, does he have money in the account? So I'd put the account number in
before you'd go to cash.
I'd be the first one there Monday morning, dude. I purposely banked with Bank of America
Because
just
it
so
was
I
Bank
could.
of America?
Fucking right, man.
Hey, you know what? You were smart about it, if nothing else.
And I got home usually Sundays, so Monday, as people are just getting into their life. They might be, some people might be in LA. They don't have a bank. Well, everybody has Bank of America. But anyways, I was always trying to be a step ahead of that gimmick.
You wanted to make sure you got the money. Well, that must have been kind of stressful, though, if nothing else, to have that rat race with every check. But as long as you got it.
And then again, I don't know how much of that was just us in paranoia, because you'd hear things. So
maybe Jim Mitchell said he missed 3.
Okay.
And he said, you know what? For everything that Paul Heyman did for him. He held no grudge over it. So,
and the one time he did bounce a check, I went to his house, and
you went to his house, really?
I went to his house, yeah.
Angry or
No. He told me to go to his house. And he gave me an ounce of weed and wrote me a new check. So, yeah, because my mother-in-law lived in Jersey, so we flew into Jersey, and we were flying back up through Westchester to go to Connecticut. And it just says, come by the house. So he wrote me a new check and gave me an ounce of weed.
So he honored it. In the end, so technically you never missed one.
Well, yeah, I mean, but the one only one bounced, so I was lucky.
Again, there have been some horror stories, but sometimes people have axe to grinds, or as Tony Atlas likes to say, if the story.
Some people did get screwed, like I know Candido did.
Oh, really?
Because what happened was Candido and Tammy used a lot of their credit to book airline
credit
tickets.
Cards, yes.
So they had like $75,000 in credit cards that were paid for ECW tickets and stuff. So I mean, a lot of people did get, I just wasn't that stupid to put credit cards in my name and buy tickets on them.
Did Candido do that because he wanted to be office, or why do you think he would even get involved with that?
Perhaps, Perhaps. I mean, everybody believed in Paul. You wanted to believe in Paul, you know. And I think somewhere deep down inside, he believed a lot of the shit he said, you know. He was the world's best liar.
A great motivator?
Great motivator. Better motivator than he was Booker.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. That's quite a statement.
Well, if you really look at the locker room and you look at the people he had on there, not a lot of the greatest workers and or physical talent you could see. But what he would do is get a guy that was like myself or other people that were maybe a little underappreciated, and he would have you believe that you could, you know, run through that brick wall. And that's one thing he was very good at, is making you believe in yourself. And there's something that happens to you when everybody around you tells you you can't. And here's Paul Heyman, you know, third biggest wrestling company in the world, and just believing in you and giving you that. And you know you have a little bit of that talent. Now he's reaffirming you and saying you could be the best in the world if you really go for it. That's a lot for your esteem. But then what happens is you start to, all the things start to shoot on all cylinders. You know, the belief and then the action, and then of course help from the book can kind of make a tidal wave, you know. Belief in yourself really, in all things in life, helped.
Oh,
And
sure.
He was
sure.
very
I
good
agree with that,
at pulling
100%.
that out of everybody. You know, he'd find all the right individuals and, you know, tell you what you needed to hear and what you needed to hear or I needed to hear. He was very good at that.
But for you to say that he
Better
was,
than a Booker.
he was
because he had a lot
better
of
at that
Tommy
than his
Dreamer
brother.
helped him a
Wow.
lot, and a lot of guys helped him with stories, especially towards the end when the finances got really bad. Paul was more worried about making deals than booking stories. So
He
I
needed
really
some
believe
help,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's actually a really cool story.
Yeah.
Al obviously went on to have a great run with WWF with Head,
That's right.
and that almost as he told me as a joke when him and Blue Meanie was
That's right.
screwing around
Yeah.
at some house show. Do you think there was anything that could have saved Furnace and LaFawn to go back and have a big WWF run? I found them to be, while solid, kind of boring.
They were not very good.
No?
And they were great guys. I had seen their work in All Japan, and I had worked with them in the WWF.
Just wasn't for America.
Phil was banged up really bad.
Was he?
By working Japan, his knees were shot. And I think they made it to the WWF on pure, just, you know, because Johnny Ace was in All Japan, and a lot of the people are rumbling, and these guys are great.
Great
you know,
reputation.
4 or 5 star matches from Meltzer. But then, you know, the bodies the injuries start to catch up to the body. And then even when we brought them into ECW after the WWF run, they were just not good. I think injuries, you know, and just, you know, they just didn't have it anymore. It's a shame because they were super nice guys. Super nice guys. I loved working with Phil especially.
Are they both passed? I know Furnace is.
He did die?
Furnace did, yeah. Kind of young, obviously, but
That's a shame.
sure is. You know, there's so many of our brothers that have left us so soon. The one good thing I'll say about, you know, what WWE has done since the Benoit incident, you know, I think they've really tried to, whether you look at it from a human point of view or a PR point of view, they go above and beyond to try and help former talents when they can. So, you know what, when those talents pass,
Yeah.
it isn't Paul Orndorff passes away. It's
Right,
WWE Hall of Famer Paul Orndorff passes away. And they don't want that out there.
Yeah.
And that's just smart overall. But
Yeah,
hopefully there's a human side to it.
They've done a
too.
very good job. They've helped me quite a bit. They've put me through multiple rehab
Really?
facilities. Yeah. And so much to the point where I've gotten aftercare that they paid for, and they do to this day have somebody on their dime that you can call if you need, you know, if you're struggling in between, you know, and it'll help you find what you're looking for, like
Wow.
a professional. I mean, somebody I've dealt with for a bunch of years, same gentleman, wonderful gentleman, and you know,
I
wonderful
wonder
people.
if it's that name that I got back in June. Maybe it's the same
Yeah, it
person.
might be.
yeah.
I would probably bet it was.
Wow. And
He's been there for a long time.
I respect them for
Yeah.
it. No matter what the reason is.
They shelled
at the end
out.
of the
They
day,
shelled
do
out
it.
like 6 figures for my trip.
They're not cheap. It's not like they're sending you to some second-class
No, I went to
facility.
some great place. One great place in Florida, boy, it was amazing, and that was the place that really stuck for me. You know, was the places in Florida, and just aftercare and making sure that I, you know, had medicine and so forth afterwards, because I didn't have insurance at the time. I do today, but back then, and
That makes it even harder, yeah.
they paid for it.
Wow.
They were very. I think if you show them any seriousness, they will, also kind of
Well,
reciprocate it as much as they can.
I know in that situation I had in June, they were willing to try and do everything they could to make it happen. I know in this very studio, Matt Bourne told a very interesting story about his situation, even though he did wind up passing away as a result of his usage. But I mean, again, 6-figure facility. Not only was it first class when he was there, but the first class treatment he received when it was done. And again, you have to tip the cap to the company, whether it is humane side, whether it is PR, whether it's a mix. They're still doing it.
Right.
And it saved a lot of lives.
It saved Fonzie's life.
Really? Fonzie
went to the same facility I went to in Tampa, and he's been stone cold sober now almost a decade.
Really?
Yeah, he's got a whole new set of teeth. His teeth are pearly white.
It's good.
Nice tan. He worked for them actually for a while for that facility until it went under with that big
Did he
hurricane.
Really? He went back and worked for him?
Yeah.
Wow. Now see, I wouldn't think he would qualify for it because
substance abuse counselors are big time down in those places that actually, if you are, in recovery, they look for people like that.
I know Duke Drosy does that.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Nice.
But I mean, as far as Fonzie being able to qualify to receive the help, because I know it's everyone that's ever been under a talent contract.
Yeah,
qualifies.
he was there though for a minute.
I didn't know that referees would qualify.
Oh yeah, he was talent. He was there for a minute.
I know he was like Giant Gonzalez's handler for a while, and well, I'm glad that they helped.
But I think he signed a deal in 2005.
Oh, for one of the comebacks? Yeah. You know what? Yeah.
To work with Van Damme
Yeah. So maybe that's how he got in. Well, you know what? Either or, he's leading a happy, healthy life, and good for him. Good for him. He'd be an interesting guest to have on ECW, Wrestling Insider Extreme at some point.
Yeah, he's great.
Next time we're down in Florida. But another odd one that kind of always stuck to me, right around about a month after you debuted as Just Incredible, you saw Bam Bigelow win the ECW championship in an impromptu match with Shane Douglas.
Yeah.
What did it say that a guy that had just main evented WrestleMania with an NFL Hall of Famer, Lawrence Taylor, was no part of the company anymore?
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about a very sad story. I don't know how much you get to know Scott over the years. My memory of him was when Tony Rumble brought him in for a couple of shots. I babysat his son, not at a hotel, but during the days at the shows and during the events, he stayed with me and I kept my eye on him because they knew he could trust me with him. Right. And I liked him. I thought he was kind of blunt, but you know what? Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed Bam, but just to see him go from where he was, the main event of WrestleMania, and again, nothing against ECW, but it's not the main event of WrestleMania with Lawrence Taylor.
But I tell you, it suited him. It fit him like a glove.
Sure did.
He loved it. He loved it there. He was close to home. And he loved it there. He got along with Paulie, I think, because he did live right in that Asbury area for a shoot. I just think he loved the fact that he could be home all the time, be with his wife, and just kind of, the money was probably not. He was making over $100,000 with ECW, so hell.
You know what? And you can live a pretty good life on that. If you're smart with your money.
Hell, give me $100,000 today. I'll be straight. I think a lot of people would shit.
Did you ever get to work, Bam?
Yeah. I worked with him in WWF, though, as PJ Walker and as Aldo, as a matter of fact.
Really? And what was Bam like to work with?
Easy.
Yeah?
So easy. Barely feel him. Such a pro. Such a pro. Sweetheart of a guy, too.
As I think you were around for both of them, who do you think was the better big guy? Vader or Bam? Did you get to work Leon?
Oh, yeah. Quite a bit.
How was his ring gear?
Smelled. I got to work with Leon in one of his last matches before
Did you
he died.
really?
Yeah. He was all right. He was okay, depending on which Leon you had.
Yes.
But to me, he never hurt me or anything. He was a pain in the ass.
You know
Big pain in the ass.
You're talking about the human side.
Yeah.
But
the human side, kind of to me is just as important.
Yeah.
Especially when you're putting something together,
I liked Leon a lot, but he just complained.
Oh yeah, always
about
complaining.
Everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, anything and everything you could find to complain about.
He certainly
did.
He
would find that way, and he would drive me insane. But I think a genuinely good human being, though,
Yeah.
beneath all that complaining.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because he was used to being, I don't want to say babied in the NFL,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
over in
yeah.
Japan, you know, they take their
Oh, yeah.
top guys, they really cater to them almost like a Hollywood movie star. When you came back to WWF and were working 200 days a year on the road, you weren't getting that pampering.
No, you weren't. No, you were not. Absolutely.
Well, but again, both of them were
Yeah.
phenomenal to watch, to say the very least.
yeah.
But did you ever hear Bam Bam say anything about, you know, such an odd transition to go from literally the top of the world to Queens and the ECW arena? And,
no, he just no-sold it. He was just always happy. He was,
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Always happy. Yeah. So I loved Bam Bam. He was just always a pretty happy guy.
I wish Tony Rumble had used him more because he was a good guy. His son's name, I think, was Anthony. I don't know if you ever met him, but he was probably about 10.
Okay,
And he'd bring him
yeah.
up with him in the, you know, to have a father-son time, and which I thought was nice, and, you know, help with the gimmicks, sales, and so on and
Right,
so
right,
forth.
yeah.
And yeah, you know, I would have liked to have used Bam Bam, but unfortunately, another one of the brothers that
Yep.
I loved. I don't know if you ever saw it. I used to live, we had a house in Florida, so I'd spend maybe 2 or 3 months a year out of there. He wound up in a funny commercial for the Universal Studios theme park on the ET ride.
Oh,
which
did he?
I thought was
Oh, that's pretty neat.
a funny dynamic, you know
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
To see Bam Bam and ET on
Right,
an amusement park
interacting,
ride.
Yeah. That's funny.
But yeah, like you said, he fit like a glove in ECW.
Yes, he did.
I mean, you talk about if you wanted to sit down and sketch out what a badass pro wrestling heel would look like.
That would be him.
I mean,
Yeah.
what didn't he have? He had
Yeah.
a good promo. The tattoos on the head put it over the top.
Yep.
You know, he was a big guy that, like you said, could move around almost like he was a cruiserweight.
So good.
But
So good.
In the end, I mean, his body was.
Yeah.
When I did speak to him about trying to come in, it was just.
Yeah. Hurting.
There wasn't much left, unfortunately,
Yep.
for a good guy. And you hate to
Yep.
hear that about
You do.
a good guy.
You do.
What about Shane Douglas? How was he as a top guy in ECW?
He was great.
Yeah.
He was great. To this day, he's one of the guys that I still talk to all the time and see
you?
all the time. Yeah, Shane's fantastic.
Fiery promos.
Yeah, one of the best matches I ever had in my life was against Shane at the ECW arena.
Really?
Absolutely.
I'm sure we'll probably get there, but off the top of your head, what did you like so much about it?
Just easy to work with. Just so easy. We didn't call a thing. Half of it was just called in the ring, and it was like a Flair steamboat.
Really?
Back and forth. Yeah.
What year would you be? Was that when they turned him babyface?
It was right before he left
So he was probably
for
babyface at
WCW.
that point.
So yeah, it was just a lot of
Yeah.
fun. A lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about something that would capture your attention, whether you liked his in-ring work
Oh,
or
it was his
not.
promos, yeah.
Those promos, man, I tell you, those were
Yeah.
lit. Did we get the signal to take it
Yes,
home?
we did. Yes, we did.
You know, fans, again, you know, that's when we're having the
When
good
you get that
conversation.
good conversation going.
I can't believe we flew through another episode so quick.
Hey, that's how I'm
Well,
good at this
Well,
thing.
I can't wait to have you back. I'm telling you. I can't wait to hear what you guys think in the premiere chat on the right side of the screen. Leave us some messages what you thought about tonight's show, the ECW parts, the non-ECW parts.
All of
We're
it.
talking great wrestling all around, having a lot of fun here on Wrestling Insiders Extreme. Again, if you give us a thumbs up, doesn't cost you a penny. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel, doesn't cost you a penny. Costs you nothing. And you're helping these tremendous YouTube algorithms get us out to more fans that may have left wrestling in the 80s, may have left wrestling after the Attitude Era and the Monday Night Wars in the 90s. Once they find these talk shows again, just with the growth I see in the numbers month to month and year to year, I know they're going to love what it is we are producing. We ask for your help. Again, the Super Chat is open. You can always make a donation of any size from $1 to, we'll take $1 million or $2 million if you happen to have it in the bank. We could really make some fun shows with that. So for my partner in crime, Just Incredible, I am Dan Marotti. We will see you this Saturday night as we celebrate 20 years of this crazy promotion that is Boston Wrestling MWF. Ed Cohen, I know you're listening somewhere up there in heaven. If you didn't get rid of me, none of this may have ever happened, but we're going to have a blast. The ticket prices are going to go up a few bucks this week because it takes a lot of time to put those VIP packages together. Head on over to bostonwrestling.com, get your tickets now, and then next Tuesday night, 10 o'clock after NXT, I'll be back with Wrestling Insiders Extreme. When you talk about a show that is incredible, I think it's become just incredible. We'll see you next Tuesday night at 10. Be well, stay healthy. Good night from Boston.
Wrestling fans, years have become months that have become weeks, and now we're talking days and even hours as Boston Wrestling MWF celebrates its 20th anniversary, going back to the 90s. Saturday night, November the 13th at Memorial Hall in Melrose, Massachusetts. The superstars and legends of yesterday, today, and tomorrow will take part in a live wrestling event, autograph photo, Fanfest, VIP exclusive Q&A, plus the kickoff to our annual Paul Bear Holiday Headlocks Toy Drive. After Jimmy Kimmel embarrassed Melrose for, well, being Melrose, we're also going to have a superstar costume contest where best dressed wins an awesome autographed prize. On November the 13th, you'll see and meet two-time WWE World Champion and Hall of Famer Bob Backlund, WWE Hall of Famer Bushwhacker Luke, WWE Hall of Famer Alundra Blaze, a.k.a. Medusa, from WCW, WWE Intercontinental and Tag Team Champion Marty Jannetty, the Doctor of Style Slick, Doink the Clown, Duke the Dumpster Drosy, Portuguese Man of War Aldo Montoya, plus two-time Impact Wrestling World Champion Die Hard Eddie Edwards, JTG of Crime Time, John Cena Sr., Oscar of Men on a Mission, AEW's Jora Joe, and more. VIP packages and tickets are on sale now at bostonwrestling.com. We'll see you live November the 13th.